Jack Nelson stood alone at the massive podium of the Galactic Council chamber. The room was designed for beings 3 times his size, making the human diplomat look even smaller than he was. Representatives of over 200 alien species stared down at him from their elevated seats. Some whispered to each other, others clicked and chirped in their native languages. None of them took him seriously. "The human wishes to speak again," announced the council moderator, a tall blue-skinned Sindari. His voice carried a hint of boredom. Jack cleared his throat. At 43 years old, with great streaks in his dark hair and the hard eyes of a former Marine, he was not easily intimidated. But today, his hands trembled slightly as he placed a small device on the podium and pressed a button. A hologram appeared above him, showing the burning ruins of a human colony. New Montana, his sister's home. 3 days ago, the Vaxian Empire attacked our outer colony without warning, Jack said, his voice steady despite his grief. 5,000 civilians died. Among them were my sister, her husband, and their 2 children. The Vaxian ambassador, a massive reptilian being named Scar, shifted in his seat. His scales gleamed under the council lights. "Regrettable," said Scar, not sounding regretful at all. "Perhaps if humans built better defenses, they would not be such easy targets." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Jack's jaw tightened. For 75 years since first contact, humanity had tried to join the galactic community as equals. For 75 years, they had been treated as amusing pets at best and resources to be exploited at worst. "This is the 6th attack on human settlements in the past year," Jack continued. "Each time, we have come to this council. Each time, nothing has been done." The moderator waved a long-fingered hand dismissively. "The council has more pressing matters than border disputes of junior races. Perhaps in a century or 2, when humans have proven themselves worthy." "Worthy?" Jack's voice cut through the chamber. "What would make us worthy? Should we conquer and enslave others, like the Vaxians? Or perhaps we should destroy entire ecosystems for profit, like the Gorthan Consortium?" The chamber fell silent. No junior race had ever spoken this way to the council. "You forget your place, human," growled Scar, rising to his full 12-foot height. "And you forget who you're dealing with," Jack replied. "Humanity has requested protection under council law. We have followed your rules. We have traded fairly. We have shared our culture and learned yours. And how have you repaid us? By watching as our people are slaughtered." He tapped the device again, and the hologram changed to show a young girl lying dead among the rubble of New Montana. His niece, Emma, just 8 years old. "This ends today," Jack said, his voice now cold as space itself. "I have been authorized by Earth's united government to deliver a message." He pulled a small paper document from his pocket, deliberately archaic, a touch that wasn't lost on the history-minded members of the council. Since the council has failed in its duty to protect its members, as of this moment, Earth and all human colonies formally declare a state of war against the Vaxian Empire and any other power that has participated in or profited from attacks on human settlements. Gasps filled the chamber, followed quickly by laughter. A single species, barely spacefaring by council standards, declaring war on multiple advanced civilizations. Scar approached Jack, towering over him. "Your species will be extinct within a solar cycle," he hissed, baring sharp teeth. Jack looked up at the massive alien without flinching. "You fundamentally misunderstand what humans are capable of when pushed too far." As council security moved to detain him, Jack turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the council erupted in chaos. They thought his declaration was a joke, a desperate move by a primitive species. They would learn soon enough how wrong they were. Jack Nelson moved quickly through the gleaming hallways of the Galactic Council station. His comm unit buzzed nonstop with urgent messages from Earth. Behind him, he could hear the heavy footsteps of the Council security forces. "Ambassador Nelson, you are ordered to stop," called a voice in the universal translator tone. Jack ducked into a transport pod just as the doors closed. He had 15 minutes before the pod would dock with the human diplomatic vessel. 15 minutes to set the next phase in motion. "Call President Reyes," Jack said to his comm unit. The face of Maria Reyes, President of the United Earth Government, appeared on the small screen. Her expression was grim but determined. "It's done," Jack reported. "They reacted exactly as we expected. And the Vaxian ambassador threatened our extinction within a solar cycle. The recording has already been sent to our networks." President Reyes nodded. "The War Council has convened. Admiral Reeves has activated Protocol Sword." Jack's eyes widened. "This early? We expected at least a week before. The Council ships are already moving to blockade our system. The Vaxians must have been planning this for some time." The pod slowed as it approached the docking bay. Jack could see his ship, the modest diplomatic vessel Olive Branch. An ironic name now. "The Council thinks they know everything about us," President Reyes continued. 75 years of keeping our true capabilities hidden is about to pay off." Jack's transport pod stopped, and the doors opened to reveal 4 armed Council guards. "Ambassador Nelson, you will return to the Council for censure," the lead guard said. Jack smiled thinly. "I'm afraid I can't do that." Suddenly, the lights in the docking bay flickered. The guards' communication devices all chimed at once. Their faces, 2 Sindari and 2 vaguely insectoid Drex, showed confusion. "What's happening?" Jack asked, though he already knew. The lead guard pressed his earpiece. "Impossible," he whispered. "The station's defense system has been." In that moment of confusion, Jack slipped past them and sprinted toward his ship. Behind him, alarms began to blare. By the time he reached the Olive Branch, the docking bay was in chaos. The station's automated defenses had mysteriously shut down. Jack sealed his ship's airlock just as the emergency barriers began to close. "Captain Kelly, get us out of here," Jack ordered as he strapped into his seat. The human pilot nodded. "Already on it, sir." The diplomatic vessel detached from the station and accelerated away far faster than any Council record suggested it could. On the main screen, Jack watched as dozens of Council ships scrambled to form a blockade, but they were reacting too slowly. "They're hailing us," reported the communications officer. On screen, Jack said. The face of the Vaxian ambassador appeared, his reptilian features twisted in rage. "What have you done, human?" Scar demanded. "Our systems. Consider it a small demonstration," Jack replied calmly. "For 75 years, we've been watching and learning while you dismissed us as primitives. We copied your technology, improved it, and developed our own. Impossible. Your species lacks the intellectual capacity." "There's something you should know about humans, Ambassador," Jack interrupted. "We thrive when underestimated." The ship jumped to FTL speed, breaking through the forming blockade with ease. Back on Earth, Dr. Alan Garcia stood in the underground facility known only as Prometheus Base. Around him, rows of engineers and scientists monitored screens showing the activation of defense systems that had been hidden in plain sight for decades. "Status report," Dr. Garcia called out. "All ships responding, sir," a young lieutenant replied. "The stealth satellites are online. Project Thunderbolt is at 97% readiness." Dr. Garcia nodded, watching as dormant facilities across the solar system came to life. What looked like mining operations on Mars, research stations on Europa, and weather platforms around Earth had begun transforming into humanity's hidden defense network. On the main screen, hundreds of ships emerged from concealed hangars across the solar system. Each one represented technology the Council races believe humans were decades from mastering. 75 years of preparation, Dr. Garcia murmured. Now we find out if it was enough. Admiral Lisa Reeves stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Defiance, watching as the enemy fleet grew larger on the view screen. At 53, she had spent most of her career preparing for this day, hoping it would never come. "Status report," she ordered. 37 Council vessels approaching, Admiral, her first officer replied. Mostly Vaxian, with support from Gorthan heavy cruisers. They're forming a blockade around Earth's orbital paths. Lisa's face remained calm, but her eyes showed fierce determination. To the Council races, humanity's fleet looked pathetically small, just 12 visible ships against their armada. Are all Thunderbolt units in position? She asked quietly. Yes, Admiral. Stealth systems functioning perfectly. They have no idea what's waiting for them. In the vast darkness around Earth's orbit, 50 advanced human warships sat completely invisible to Council sensors. For decades, humans had been studying alien technology, adapting it, and making breakthroughs the Council races never imagined possible. The visible ships were merely the bait. On the main Council warship, Commander Drax of the Vaxian fleet laughed as he studied the human defenses. "Look at these primitive vessels," he said to his officers. "Their largest ship is barely half the size of our smallest cruiser." His second-in-command, however, looked concerned. "Sir, something doesn't seem right. Their ambassador declared war knowing our strength. Either humans are incredibly stupid or what?" Drax sneered. "They've been hiding something. Impossible. Our spies have monitored their development for decades." The commander opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "Attention Earth vessels. This is Commander Drax of the Vaxian Imperial Fleet. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Your planet is now under Vaxian control." On the Defiance, Admiral Reeves smiled slightly. "Send our response." Her communications officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral. This is Admiral Lisa Reeves of Earth Defense Forces. We will not surrender. You have exactly 1 minute to withdraw from Earth space." Laughter echoed across the Vaxian bridge at her response. 1 minute. Commander Drax mocked. "What could you possibly?" "Project Thunderbolt, engage," Lisa commanded. Suddenly, all around the Council fleet, space itself seemed to warp and shift. 50 warships appeared out of nowhere, their stealth systems deactivating to reveal vessels unlike anything the Council races had ever seen from humans. Before the Vaxian commander could react, the human ships fired. Not with the primitive projectile weapons the Council expected, but with energy beams that cut through Vaxian shields like they weren't even there. "Impossible," Drax shouted as his ship shuddered from a direct hit. "Their technology is decades beyond what our intelligence reported." In the operations center on Earth, Dr. Alan Garcia watched the battle unfold on massive screens. Next to him stood President Reyes. "The reverse-engineered shields are holding," Dr. Garcia reported, "and the quantum targeting systems are working perfectly." Within minutes, the battle had turned completely one-sided. 7 Vaxian ships had been destroyed, and 12 more severely damaged. The rest were attempting to retreat. "Should we pursue, Admiral?" asked Lisa's first officer. Lisa considered for a moment. "No, let some escape. I want them to report what they've seen." On his failing flagship, Commander Drax recorded one final message to the Vaxian Empire as his ship's systems shut down around him. "They deceived us all," he hissed into the emergency transmitter. "The humans were hiding their true capabilities. They have weapons and defenses we've never seen before. They knew we were coming. They were prepared. His transmission cut off as his ship's power failed completely. Back on the Defiance, Admiral Reeves looked at the scattered remains of the Council fleet with no satisfaction, only grim determination. "Send word to all human colonies," she ordered. "Operation Dawn has begun. And contact our allies in the other junior races. It's time they knew they have a choice." The first battle was over. The war had truly begun. And across the galaxy, news spread quickly. The primitives had teeth. 2 weeks after Earth's shocking victory, President Maria Reyes stood in a secure conference room beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her sat representatives from 7 alien species. All were considered junior races by the Galactic Council. All had suffered under the dominant powers. "The humans have shown it's possible to fight back," chirped Zix, a small avian being with brilliant blue feathers. The Dralaxians had lost 3 colony worlds to Vaxian expansion in the past decade alone. But at what cost? Rumbled Korak, the stone-skinned Galithian ambassador. The Council will retaliate with everything they have. President Reyes nodded. Yes, they will. That's why I've invited you here today. Alone, each of our species faces extinction. Together, we have a chance. She activated a hologram showing a treaty document. I propose the formation of the Liberation Alliance. Equal partnership, shared technology, mutual defense. The representatives looked at each other nervously. Taking on the Council was madness, but the humans had already done the unthinkable. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope. One by one, they agreed. Far from Earth, on the contested moon of Dralaxis Prime, Private Sam Watkins crawled through blue mud alongside his alien comrade. Sam was 26, with a farmer's build and steady hands. This was his 3rd combat mission since the war began. Beside him, Krex, a Dralaxian scout, moved with incredible grace despite his bird-like build. His blue feathers were coated with camouflage paste. Vaxian patrol ahead, Krex whispered, his translator making the chirps understandable to Sam. 4 soldiers, heavy weapons. Sam checked his rifle. Can we go around? No time. The main force reaches the settlement in 30 minutes. Sam nodded grimly. The settlement housed 3,000 Dralaxian civilians and a handful of human engineers helping build defenses. If the Vaxian force reached it first, there would be nothing left but ashes. I'll take the 2 on the left, Sam said. Krex tilted his head, a gesture of respect. You humans are strange, so fragile-looking, yet so fearless. Sam grinned, not fearless, just stubborn. They moved into position. The patrol of massive reptilian soldiers hadn't spotted them yet. Sam took a deep breath, aimed, and fired. His first shot hit the lead Vaxian in a gap between armor plates. The specialized ammunition, developed by Dr. Garza's team, penetrated the alien's thick hide. The second Vaxian fell before it could raise its weapon. Beside him, Krex's sonic weapon dropped the other 2 guards. Clear, Sam whispered. Let's move. As they rushed forward, Krex asked the question many aliens have been wondering. How did your species prepare so well? The Council thought humans were harmless. Sam helped the Dralaxian climb over a fallen tree. That was our advantage. While they watched us build basic ships and colonies, underground we were studying every piece of technology we could get our hands on. Learning, adapting. But why hide your abilities? Earth history is full of stories about what happens when technologically superior forces meet less advanced ones. Usually ends badly for the less advanced group. Sam checked his scanner. We weren't going to let that happen to us. They reached a ridge overlooking the valley where the main Vaxian force was advancing. At least 200 troops with heavy armor. Too many to fight, Krex said, his feathers flattening in distress. Sam touched his communicator. This is Fireteam Delta. Target confirmed, requesting Thunderbolt support. From above the atmosphere, a human stealth ship acknowledged. 30 seconds later, pinpoint energy beams struck the Vaxian force. The precision was incredible. The forest remained untouched while the enemy troops were eliminated. Krex's eyes widened. Your weapons are beyond anything the Council races possess. Not better, just different, Sam replied. We focused on precision while they focused on power. We had to. We were outnumbered. As they headed toward the settlement to report the area secure, Krex asked, "Do you think we can actually win this war?" Sam looked at his alien friend. I don't know. But I do know this. The Council races made the worst mistake possible. What's that? They gave humans a good reason to work together. Throughout our history, that's when we're most dangerous. 3 months into the war, Earth faced its darkest day. The skies above every major city filled with Council warships. This wasn't a surgical strike. This was revenge. In the command bunker beneath New Washington, President Reyes watched in horror as the first energy beams struck Chicago. "Civilian casualties?" she asked, her voice barely steady. "Evacuation was only 60% complete," someone answered. "We're looking at hundreds of thousands of deaths." Jack Nelson stood at her side, his face ashen. "This is my fault. I started this war." "No," President Reyes said firmly. "They started it when they attacked our colonies. You just refused to let them get away with it." The bunker shook as distant explosions reached them. On the screens, similar attacks were happening worldwide. "Admiral Reeves reports our orbital defenses are overwhelmed," an officer called out. "The Council united 17 species against us. It's the largest fleet ever assembled." Dr. Garcia rushed into the room, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Madam President, we've intercepted Council communications. This isn't just an attack. They're deploying the World Breaker." The room fell silent. The World Breaker was a weapon so terrible that even the Council had banned its use. A device that could crack a planet's crust, rendering it uninhabitable for millennia. "How long?" President Reyes asked. 5 days, Dr. Garcia replied. "That's how long until it arrives at Earth." "Our options?" Dr. Garcia looked grim. "We don't have the firepower to stop their combined fleet." But he hesitated. "We might have one chance. Captain Olivia Chen's ship, the Shadow Dancer, could get behind enemy lines." "A stealth mission?" Jack asked. "Exactly. The World Breaker is being brought in on a heavily guarded transport. If Captain Chen can infiltrate it and plant explosives in the right places." President Reyes nodded. "Make it happen." Captain Olivia Chen had never imagined she would be humanity's last hope. At 34, she had spent most of her career running covert operations. Her ship, the Shadow Dancer, was the most advanced stealth vessel humans had ever built. Now, with a crew of 5 humans and 3 alien allies, she approached the massive Council shipyard where the World Breaker was being prepared. "Stealth systems holding," reported her first officer. "They don't see us." Olivia checked her gear one last time. "Remember, we only get one shot at this. The explosives must be placed exactly as Dr. Garcia specified." Her team nodded grimly. They all knew this was likely a one-way mission. As they docked with the enormous station, alarms suddenly blared. "They've detected us," shouted her engineer. "How?" Olivia demanded. "No Council technology should be able to see through their stealth field." "Unknown, Captain. But security forces are converging on our position." Olivia made a quick decision. "New plan. Johnson, Peters, you're with me. Everyone else, return to the ship. If we're not back in 30 minutes, leave without us." "Captain." Her alien navigator began to protest. "That's an order. Earth comes first." The 3 humans moved quickly through the station's corridors, fighting their way past guards. They lost Peters to enemy fire before reaching the chamber housing the World Breaker. The weapon was enormous, a sphere of twisted metal and glowing energy, large enough to destroy a planet. "Set the charges," Olivia ordered Johnson as she held off the approaching security forces. Johnson worked quickly, placing explosives at the weak points Dr. Garcia had identified. "Done, Captain." As they turned to leave, a massive energy blast struck Johnson in the chest. He fell, dead instantly. Olivia, now alone, grabbed the detonator and ran. She wouldn't make it back to the ship. There were too many enemies between her and safety. But she could still complete the mission. Cornered in a maintenance corridor, bleeding from multiple wounds, she activated her emergency transmitter. "This is Captain Chen. Mission accomplished. Charges are set." She coughed, tasting blood. "Tell Earth, we stopped them." She pressed the detonator. The explosion ripped through the station, destroying the World Breaker and everything around it. The Shadow Dancer, just barely clear of the blast radius, carried the news back to Earth. In the command bunker, President Reyes listened to Captain Chen's final transmission with tears in her eyes. "She saved us all," Jack said quietly. "For now," Dr. Garcia added, "but the Council still has us outnumbered. We've only bought ourselves time." President Reyes squared her shoulders. "Then we'll use it. Send word to the Alliance. It's time for Phase 2. 3 years into the war, both sides were bleeding. Earth had lost 2 colony worlds. The Council races had lost dozens of their own planets to the growing Liberation Alliance. Billions had died across the galaxy. The war that began with one human's declaration had become the deadliest conflict in galactic history. Jack Nelson sat in a plane room on the neutral planet Nexus, waiting. His hair had gone completely gray now. The burden of starting a war that killed billions would do that to a person. The door opened, and a tall, thin alien with glowing skin entered. The Luminar were one of the oldest species in the galaxy and had remained neutral in the conflict. "Ambassador Ilara will see you now," the aide said. Jack followed the glowing being through ornate hallways. This secret meeting could change everything. In a chamber filled with soft light, 5 representatives from powerful council races waited. None of them were Vaxian. "Mr. Nelson," the Luminar ambassador spoke first, "you requested this meeting. We agree because enough blood has been spilled." Jack nodded. "Thank you for coming. I bring evidence you need to see." He placed a small device on the table. It projected images of secret Vaxian bases and documents. "For over a century, the Vaxian Empire has been manipulating the Council," Jack explained. "They've been staging attacks, falsifying reports, and secretly enslaving junior race worlds outside Council space." The alien representatives leaned forward, studying the evidence. "The Vaxians told the Council that humans were violent and unpredictable," Jack continued. "What they didn't mention was that they had been attacking our colonies for years before we declared war." "Why would they do this?" asked the Talaxian representative, his multiple eyes blinking in confusion. "Resources, territory, power." Jack pointed to more documents. The Vaxians were preparing for a galactic takeover. They planned to use the Council races against each other, then seize control when we were all weakened. The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. "If this is true," the Luminar ambassador said finally, "many Council decisions must be reconsidered." "We're not asking for special treatment," Jack said. "We're asking for the truth to be acknowledged, and for the Vaxian aggression to be stopped." The representatives conferred quietly among themselves. "We will bring this evidence before the full Council," the Luminar ambassador announced. "In the meantime, we will withdraw our support for the Vaxian war effort." It wasn't full peace, but it was a start. 1 month later, Admiral Lisa Reeves stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now scared from dozens of battles. Before her, the massive view screen showed the Alpha Centauri system, humanity's first colony, and now the site of what would likely be the final battle of the war. "The Vaxian fleet has arrived," her first officer reported. 87 warships. They'd brought everything they have left. Lisa nodded calmly. "And the Alliance fleet? 63 ships in position. The Dralaxians and Galithians have taken the flanks as planned." The Vaxian Empire, now abandoned by their former allies, had become desperate. This was their final attempt to break the Alliance. "Open a channel to all ships," Lisa ordered. When the communication line was ready, she spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Reeves. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every species that has suffered under Vaxian oppression. Remember Captain Chen. Remember New Montana. Remember what we're fighting for." The bridges of Alliance ships filled with determined faces, human, Dralaxian, Galithian, and a dozen other species once dismissed as junior races. "Begin Operation Checkmate," Lisa commanded. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. The Alliance ships, though outnumbered, used complex formations no single species had ever attempted before. Humans provided the strategy, Dralaxians the speed, Galithians the power. The enemy flagship is breaking formation, her tactical officer reported hours into the battle. They're making a run for the jump point. Lisa's eyes narrowed. Not today. All ships, converge on the Vaxian flagship. Capture, don't destroy. The Alliance ships executed a perfect pincer movement, cutting off the Vaxian Emperor's escape. They've surrendered, Admiral, her first officer announced, disbelief in his voice. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Send word to Earth. Tell them we've captured the Vaxian Emperor. The war is nearly over. On the view screen, the massive Vaxian flagship hung disabled among the stars, surrounded by the ships of species they had once called primitive. 1 year after the Battle of Alpha Centauri, Jack Nelson stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. This time, he wasn't alone. Representatives from all the Liberation Alliance species stood with him, along with many former council races who had withdrawn from the conflict. The chamber itself had changed. No longer were the junior races confined to small platforms at the bottom. The entire layout had been rebuilt, with all species given equal positions. The new council moderator, a wise Luminard elder, called the session to order. Today marks a historic moment. The Treaty of Alpha Centauri will be formally ratified, ending 4 years of galactic war. Jack stepped forward to speak. At 48, he looked much older. The war had taken its toll on everyone, but perhaps most on the man who had declared it. 4 years ago, I stood in this chamber and made a decision that led to billions of deaths, Jack said, his voice steady but somber. I carry that weight every day. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of many different species. But today isn't about the past. It's about ensuring such a war never happens again. The new council charter guarantees equal rights for all sentient species. No more junior or senior races. No more exploitation. The Vaxian delegation, now led by a moderate who had replaced their warlike emperor, shifted uncomfortably. Their empire had been broken apart, their military disbanded. The once mighty conquerors were now just one voice among many. The human speaks wisdom, said Krex, now serving as the Dralaxian ambassador. Unity through equality, not fear. As the council members signed the treaty one by one, the Luminar moderator approached Jack privately. The council wishes to offer you the position of High Representative, the glowing being said. Many feel it would be fitting, considering your role in these events. Jack shook his head. No, I'm not the right person for that job. Instead, he nominated a coalition of representatives from formerly oppressed species. They would better understand the importance of fairness and balance. Later, as the formal proceedings ended, the new Vaxian ambassador approached Jack in a quiet hallway. There is something I must know, the reptilian being said. How did you do it? How did a single species, barely spacefaring, defeat the greatest empire in the galaxy? Jack considered the question carefully. For most of our history, humans fought each other. We perfected warfare because our survival depended on it. When we finally united, we kept preparing, hoping we'd never need those skills again. And yet you hid your true capabilities. We had to. We saw how the Council treated those it considered threats. The Vaxian nodded slowly. The old Emperor never understood you. He thought humans were simple creatures, easily crushed. That was his mistake, Jack replied. We didn't want war. But we've never lost one when our survival was at stake. 2 months later, Jack visited the rebuilt colony of New Montana. Where his sister's home once stood, a memorial garden now bloomed. Humans and aliens worked side by side, planting trees that would grow for centuries. He placed a single flower at the base of the memorial stone. The names of every person lost in the attack were carved there, including his sister and her family. A small Dralaxian child approached him, curiosity in her large eyes. Are you the human who changed everything? Jack smiled sadly. No, little one. It wasn't just me. It was all of us together. Nearby, a group of children played. Human, Dralaxian, even a young Vaxian. They had no memory of the war, only of the peace that followed. As Jack watched them, he felt the weight on his shoulders lighten just a little. One human's war declaration had indeed shocked the galaxy, but it was humanity's peace terms that truly changed it. The memorial garden would grow. The children would learn from history, and the stars, once filled with enemies, now held allies and friends. Jack looked up at the evening sky, where the first stars were becoming visible. It was worth it, he whispered to his sister's memory. A galaxy where all can live free. It was worth it.